Hello, welcome to Creators in Focus. I am Victoria Bola Okerinde, the founder of Creators in Focus, a platform that brings you relatable stories of creatives and founders who are passionate about creating for impact and impacting their society in a way that nobody else can but them. If you are interested in learning about the journey to excellence and also you are creative, then this is the channel for you. Yes, I believe that the stories that will be shared on this channel will really benefit and impact and empower you. So yes, please subscribe to the channel and you can also follow us on our social media platforms. This week I had the opportunity to speak to a lovely young lady, Toyan Oriogun. She is the creative director and founder of her brand, Lonseluet. It was really fantastic to hear her journey to becoming a designer, some of the challenges that she faced, and also navigating COVID-19 and how she plans to pivot her business and succeed in a time of uncertainty. It was so amazing to hear the advice that she has for creatives and fellow designers, and some of her strategy to ensuring that she's using this time for benefit and for good. It was so interesting to also hear her thoughts on how the fashion industry and the creative industry is gonna evolve after the COVID-19 pandemic. So let us get straight into this interview. I'm so excited to introduce Toyan Oriogun. Hi, Toya. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome.
Okay, fantastic. I mean, we've been speaking a little bit behind the scenes, behind the recording, and it's really nice to get to know you a little bit more, and also reading your bio. I mean, so fantastic hearing about the ethos behind your brand. We usually start off by asking our guests to tell us a little bit about their journey to where they are now. So can you tell us why you started, why you wanted to be a designer and why you started off your business?
Yes, definitely. So a little bit about my background. I've always been a creative. I've been one of those lucky ones that was always, I guess, was going to pursue her career within creativity. Starting off from a very young age, I was always drawing from what I can remember. I think my first love was fine art, if you could say that. I was always drawing. I was always customizing my own clothes. Especially during uni times. I was always creative with what I was wearing. And I think that came from a sense of wanting to kind of have my own identity within clothing and with how I dress and how I look at myself. And so gradually during my years of education, from school to university, I already knew that fashion was going to be something that I wanted to pursue. And so I attended Ravensbourne for my diploma. I did a fashion design course for 1 year, and then I went over to my bachelor degree at Middlesex University to study fashion again. However, during the course, I think I really wanted to learn more than just the practicality of fashion. I think at the time I felt like I wasn't gaining information in regards to the industry and the business and networking, and so I kind of took upon my own initiative to go ahead and take a gap year. Within that gap year, I decided that I did want to pursue my own brand, and so Lonseluet came about. I was 17, so it was really hard for me. I really did have to persuade my parents that this was something I really believe in, and I worked my way through it. So I was working at the same time. I'll be doing evening courses on the weekends and sometimes on the weekdays as well, still to kind of educate myself on some of the technicalities like pattern cutting and couture design. And then prior to that, I was networking. I was really trying to get myself out there and reach out to people. And at the same time, using social media. I think this was around the time when Instagram first started. So using social media to kind of put my work out there, as well as just starting the brand, it kind of took off from there. I was really surprised with the response that I got. I managed to take part in one of the young designer fashion shows during the time, closer to Fashion Week. And then it kind of grew from there. So it was really a risk-taking decision that I decided to make at the time, just because I felt like I kind of saw my vision and I really wanted to learn more at the same time.
Mm.
Sometimes it's not easy because being a young age and, education, you've already started it, your parents want you to continue. And, sometimes you've got to follow your own path if you really feel like it's something that you really have faith in going
Yeah.
forward with. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Such a great journey. And like, I really like what you said about following your own path. And it's really, really great that you actually took a gap here to kind of understand what the next steps were for you. And in that time you found yourself. Fantastic. So let us talk about your day-to-day activities as a designer. I mean, we are currently in lockdown, so obviously you can't go out, you can't do fit-ins, you can't do what you used to do. So what is your current schedule looking like? Sorry.
Majority of it has been based on focusing now for online strategies in terms of marketing,
Mm.
because I do realize that it's literally the only options that we do have now in
Yeah.
terms of creative presence and also selling to customers as well. And so my day-to-day schedules are just based on learning marketing. It was something that I'm not necessarily strong at, and so it's been something that I've more or less taken time to really focus on, creating content,
Mm.
looking at new products and thinking ahead of what's going to happen after the lockdown as well. But then also just reaching out to people and seeing how I can still maintain the creative process of creating and
Yeah.
connecting with others as well during this time. So it is, although we are limited to what we can do outside, I really am just trying to use this time to narrow down to certain things that I couldn't say have time to do as much,
Mm-hmm.
and then also to fall at the end of the day. So yeah.
Fantastic. That's really great to hear how like you're kind of navigating your way through this. I know like quite early on in the beginning it was quite a little bit of a shock for, I guess, for everyone, because it's like, oh my days, like how do we move forward? How do we continue business as it is? But I think it's a great time to actually just kind of hone in on skills and, like you said, build relationships, and prepare yourself for the new normal.
Exactly.
And it sounds like you've been really, really productive with your time. Can you give us any tips for productivity during lockdown as a creative?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it can be hard just because you don't have a schedule to wake up every single
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
Sometimes you get quite repetitive as well. But I think for me, I've always been someone that's always holding on to diaries where I'm writing down my tasks and my goals, and from time to time, I'm just always checking throughout the week. Okay, have I done this? If I haven't done it, let me push it back to the weekend so it's at least done by the end of the week. And
mm-hmm.
so I think the easiest thing for creatives is just writing down key points in terms of what you want to do,
Yeah,
and what you want to try also, because this is a time for us to really challenge ourselves and
mm.
and try new things at the same time as well. And so writing down my notes in diaries, keeping sticky notes anywhere around my house. I love sticky notes anyway, so I'm always writing down notes. Just using that as a way to schedule your time, and so you're not losing a sense of your own track. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Not losing a sense of time, as opposed to every day as it's going by, just making sure you're sticking towards what you're supposed to be doing, and that way it's easier for you. I don't think you have to be too harsh on yourself during this time as well, because
Yeah,
as much as creatives love to create and love to work and push forward, I definitely do think that taking this time out for yourself to really just be by yourself and
mm.
really work on yourself in other areas as well, connect with your own personal life at the same time, I think is
Yeah.
just as important. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, those are really fantastic tips. Like you said, it's honestly just noting things down and also making sure that there's actually a balance, that you're not overworking, because we're kind of working and living in the same space as well, is ensuring that, you have boundaries and you're resting and taking care of you during this stressful time. Yeah. So let us talk about taking your idea and turning it into a design, because I'm sure like some of our listeners are either thinking of starting businesses or thinking of or current designers or thinking of going into the fashion industry. So how do you go from a concept in your head to a product, I know it's quite a long process, but if you could just kind of summarize it for us.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so definitely. So in terms of where I get my inspiration from, it's more or less from anything. I think narrowing it down, it's always been from women as my main source of inspiration. But it's also been from nature, it's been from my own surroundings. It's literally been from looking at a color and really seeing where that sparks off an idea from. It's taking inspiration from absolutely anything and then creating a story around it. I think with my collections, I've really had fun with creating them from concept to production because I'm telling a story throughout each and every one of them. And so it becomes something bigger than just the product that what you're seeing. It's a story, and it's something that you can then hold on to and be a part of, especially once wearing some of the pieces from the collections as well. And so from my own, so I'm trying to get back on track. So from my own concept inspiration is having taking the concept or taking whatever it is that I am inspired by. I'm quite a visual, so I then create mood boards around it. So I like to play with magazines. I like to take pictures outside especially with nature. If I've seen a certain flower that I like, I'm taking pictures of that. Looking on platforms like Pinterest, looking for inspiration from that, and then collecting them all together. And so that becomes a picture within itself as to where I'm going forward with in terms of creating a collection. So once I've got my mood boards, I'm then going straight into design process. So I'm then just sketching anything that's coming to mind, any shapes, any designs I've already seen, anything that I'm liking. I'm kind of sketching those, seeing what's working, what's not working, narrowing them down to about 5 outfits within the collection.
Okay.
And then from that, it goes on to samples and drafting. And so I'm fabric sourcing, I'm going to different warehouses, seeing what fabrics are working, what fabrics I want to work with, for example. And then looking at drapings on my mannequins, so seeing how it's going to fit or how the form is going to be in certain fabrics. And you're going into production. So once I've got the designs and I've got my sampling, it then goes into my manufacturers for them to start making the first samples for the collection. And then from there, it goes on to promotion. So organizing our photo shoots, starting to write our press kits to send out to buyers and the media for coverage. Collaborations, I'm reaching out to stylists to use the samples as well for promotion. And then it is quite a long process, but I think from where we've started, it's just taking that design and working our way through it until we've actually got products in front of us. So.
Fantastic. It is a long process, like you mentioned. And like, how long would you say this takes? From like how long can it take from idea to having your sample?
Yeah, so I would say within the first month anyway for me, because so for example, I don't do seasons. I don't do autumn, spring, summer. I'm a seasonless brand. And so collections, I really like to take my time with them. I don't think I could pull off a collection within the space of a month. It wouldn't feel right to me. I think the concept alone really has to resonate with me and what I really want to put out there for the world to see. And so I think the space of 2 months and a bit would be for an entire collection to be worn, would be the length of time that I would take.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I think it really just it varies, obviously, at the level that your business is at, how your team as well. I'm guessing you work on your own most of the time. So I think it really just depends. But like you mentioned, it is a process, and it's great that you obviously take your time because it's like your work is sort of like an extension of who you are. And yeah, you really want to put out how you're feeling, and also let your clothes represent your brand and your personality, and things that are important to you. So going back to concept, from concept to product, something that is very important in actually achieving what you want is finance. So like, how do you raise capital to actually start off, to design a collection, actually have like a collection ready? How do you raise the capital for that?
Me personally, it's always been through self-funding.
Mm.
So I didn't start off the brand with funding or anything. I was lucky enough to be able to fund it myself, and also always have the support of my family as well.
Yeah.
But the time has been self-funding for my collections and how the brand has pushed forward.
Fantastic. That's really great. And what are the hidden costs? You know, because you're like, okay, yeah, I know how much this is going to cost to get the fabric. I know how much it's going to cost to maybe hire a seamstress to, make the sample. But are there any hidden costs that you weren't aware of, especially when you first started designing? So if you could share with us any hidden costs of designing and producing a collection.
Yeah, I think hidden costs would especially be within the production process, just because, for example, with myself, the production cost for samples is going to be a lot higher than mass production, just because to make one sample, it would probably cost you 3 times more than making 5 of that one sample. That is the hidden cost of it. I think sometimes you've got to put in more in order to gain back. And I think that's been one of the things that I've learned the most. And also just hidden costs in terms of keeping costs low, however you can. I think starting off in terms of designing myself, I realized that I was putting a lot of money into production, in terms of fabric and just all the other extra parts like photo shoots, and there was a lot of money that was put into it, and you don't realize until you've calculated altogether how much it's cost for that one collection, that if you're not careful, you could be spending more than you actually need to. And so I think now that I've gone through several collections, I'm now realizing that, okay, how can I keep my cost low? How can I do my photo shoots that are not going to cost X amount? How can I collaborate with others instead of paying for every single, for example, influencer to promote my clothes? How can I keep the cost low in terms of where I'm sourcing my fabric from? So it's good. I think especially from university, that was something I didn't realize at all. But I think the perks of having my business has really given me that sense of, okay, when I'm looking for fabric and when I'm doing certain things to do with the project, it's all about how I'm keeping costs low.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think you get better at it as you progress in your business. Like you mentioned, some of these stuff may not be taught, at uni, but it's all about experiencing. It's about working with different people, learning from different parts of the industry as well. And like you said, collaborating, influencer marketing is like up there right now. So really collaborating with people who will, obviously you pay them well, or you give them something for their work, but it's finding innovative ways to market your product and to get more for less, if that makes sense. Yeah. So you mentioned something about sustainability. So you mentioned sort of your business model, which is you don't mass produce your designs. So what is your approach to sustainability as a designer?
So in terms of wanting to keep my designs exclusive, I do tend to create more limited edition pieces. That way, it's a preference. I'm not really looking to go into the wholesale with my products. I'm wanting to keep them more into quite of a niche and smaller market where they can be, where they can go into boutiques, for example. That way, it's that sense of not everyone has it. It creates more personal feel towards the product that you actually have and the clothes that you own. You know that there isn't thousands of people out there that have that one design, and I think that's what makes it even more exclusive. And then also just in terms of mass production, I think, again, going back to things that I now know, there's so much fabric that we waste, especially when designing, especially when I'll give an example. One of my printed collections that I made, because I wanted every single print to look exactly the same. It was amazing, but I did lose out on so much fabric just from cutting down the print. And I realized I don't have to do that. If I do want to keep costs low, first of all, and to continue being more on a sustainable, ethical brand, and for future in general, I don't have to waste the fabric. I can just go ahead and say, okay, every single design is not going to be the same, and that's still okay, you know. And then that way, cost is low, and I'm not wasting. At the end of the day, we waste too much clothes. I have clothes. I'm sure you have clothes that you just don't wear anymore. And then where does it end up? So
landfill.
it's just keeping in mind, I think, a conscious decision, just no more wasting. I don't think I need to anymore. And another approach of going towards, for example, I instead of creating more fabrics, creating more collections going forward, I think I'm going to make a decision in terms of using the fabric I already have.
Yeah.
And creating more designs based off old collections as well. And it's just recycling. I think I'm really drawn to the idea of recycling. It's important for all of us, I think, today. So,
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's really important to like repurpose what you have already. And I think sustainability, obviously there's quite last year and early this year as well, there's quite a lot of noise around sustainability within the fashion industry. And I think that's something that is here to stay. My personal, what I personally feel is that as every brand, every designer should really adapt to a sustainable model, just for the environment and ethical reasons as well. And I think post COVID-19, I think it's something that's going to be like a must for brands and even other industries as well. So yeah, fantastic. Like hats off to you for taking that approach. Yeah. So we're going to move on to talking about adapting to change. Obviously, we are in a unique time during this pandemic that nobody else has ever seen. No one has lived through something like this, or perhaps, but not this. And it's really shaken industries, is shaken the way and more remolded or will be remolding the way people do business. So how has your business approach changed? Especially during this pandemic, because I know you've mentioned some of the things that you're doing, but has your business approach changed?
I think where it comes to communication, 100%. Even though I don't have my own boutique at the moment, I'm totally based online. I was stocking in another store, but again, because of COVID-19, they've now moved online as well. And so I think one of the approaches that I have adapted to, or I am adapting to, is just the communication stage, because I realized that more or less now, we need to be more personal with our audience, personal with our customers. Again, just because I think now even people are still shopping. I do realize that people are still shopping. At the same time, it's still such a sensitive kind of situation that we're in. And so I think reaching out to people, small changes like asking people how they are and checking in with them, especially with shippings, checking in, explaining to them that deliveries might not be on time due to this, but if you have any questions, reach out to us. I think small changes like that are so important for me at the moment, where I realize I'm building a relationship with people that I probably wouldn't do prior to this, just because I didn't realize it was that important. I think now it's giving me the time to kind of create more of a personal touch and experience with Lonseluet during this, just to see where it goes and works in our benefit after as well.
Fantastic. Yeah. And I think that's such a great approach. I was speaking to somebody earlier during the week, and I was really emphasizing on relationship, obviously with your customers, but like you mentioned, relationship with other designers, like your stockists, just ensuring that although you may not be pushing sales as much, but you're preparing, for the next stage, you're checking up on people, and you're really showing that you value your current customers as well. Fantastic. So is there anything that you wish you started doing last year that would have put you in a better position today?
Right, yes. Well, yeah. So prior to the lockdown, I really do wish, because I, going forward, wanted to do the pop-up this year, the first
Mm-hmm.
official pop-up with Lonseluet, just where I have people introduced to Lonseluet in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I wish that was something I definitely did do prior to this. I think it would have given me more brand awareness, first of all,
Yes.
and relationship building at the same time, because it would have been inviting people I already know within the creative industry, opening up the platform to see Lonseluet, to
Mm.
feel products and to understand what we're about. But not to say that it can't happen. I'm still thinking ahead. I'm still hoping that we do get the opportunity to make certain things happen after. And just focusing on the now, to be honest. So just to
Mm-hmm.
focus on how I can build those relationships and I can think forward at the same time.
Fantastic. Yeah. I think it's really difficult to focus too much. I don't know. I guess we can all learn from what everybody else is doing right now. The reason why I ask is because some people may look back and think, oh, we should have gone online last year, or we should have, thinking about different things that they should have done without, to put them in a better position. But I know, speaking to other creatives, like learning from other designers, that funding is something that a lot of people are struggling with at the moment. And I just want to ask, are you aware of any funding for creatives? Not necessarily designers, but creatives, especially in this time?
I'm not aware. I wouldn't say that there's one that I'm particularly aware of at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
There are platforms like the British Fashion Council.
Yeah.
There's also certain individuals that do share information on there. I think it's the Fashion Educator. I
Yeah.
know her platform, there's a few informations based on what's happening in the industry and how you can get in contact with certain people. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I haven't necessarily personally myself. I don't want to say I have when I haven't. I
Yeah.
haven't looked. I
Yeah.
haven't looked into funding, but there are platforms out there that can help. So
Fantastic. Yeah. And this is something that I've also been looking into as well. And I am aware that this month, the small business grant for eligible businesses, I think that got finalized and people can now apply for that. It's not necessarily, focused on like the creative industry, but if you're a business and you're struggling, you can apply for that. I know within London, there are also a few grants available. I think it's the London Community Response Fund. They have a crisis response and grant. They have grants up to £10,000 if any for businesses eligible. I also think there's one available. Let me see. I think there's one available for Croydon as well. And that's kind of focused around arts, like youth arts. So yeah, I think for anyone who's listening and they're thinking, oh my days, like where can I get help with funding? I think it's just kind of looking at what is available in your city, or, if you're listening in another country, in your country. But yeah, also tap into what the government is providing at the moment, because I think that's something really amazing that they've managed to do for businesses. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so we're talking about the wider fashion industry right now. So how do you think the fashion industry will change after this pandemic?
I think they're definitely going to change their approach in terms of collections and what we
Mm,
now have access to.
mm,
I think I was reading on the British Fashion Council anyway, they were having a debate to decide whether it was necessary to still continue with
mm,
fashion shows. And then they kind of emphasized on the whole production in terms of doing fashion shows anyway. Is that something that's necessary? I
mm,
personally don't think there is. I think it would be amazing if we did narrow down, because it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, um, to put these productions on for all the fashion shows, especially doing it 4 5 times a month.
Yes.
And I think, especially during this time now, we do realize that we can focus on online marketing and online showcasing our products. I
Mm,
didn't, I didn't see a reason why we can't move into digital showcasing products for fashion shows. We've been
mm-hmm,
doing it anyway at the same time, so it's here. It's just
mm,
whether it's something they would probably bring, or continuing with the fashion shows as they have been.
mm, mm. Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing some reading also around, what's going to be happening within creative industries. And I think I read somewhere that they might have like gender neutral like fashion shows now, because obviously fashion shows are, they've got the men's fashion week, and obviously, so they may introduce that across like Milan and Paris. Um, but I also think there might be changes in the way the fabrics that designers are using. So for instance, kind of some people might decide to use antibacterial fabrics, or more natural fabrics like bamboo, to try and sort of introduce that whole natural protection against. That's what I feel like there's going to be a lot more innovation around. And yeah, like you mentioned, innovation going online, doing digital shows. I think there was I read somewhere like someone had created an app. This is for the beauty industry, but someone had created an app for women to try on lipstick.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it's really interesting stuff like that. Obviously, you don't want to go into the shops and touch and put on your face or on your lips. So I'm really, really excited to see what comes out of, you know, um, this pandemic, and the innovation and the fantastic new things that we'll see within the fashion industry and wider as well. Yeah, fantastic. And do you feel like there'll be any change in terms of the type of clothes? Like, especially like, I'm really excited to see what designers produce over the like next season. So like spring, summer next year. Like, do you think the crazy colors? Like, what are your predictions for next year?
Gosh, I have no idea. Like, it's funny because I feel like it's still going to be a theme that we've seen. It's probably just going to be, as you said, the fabric's going to change.
Mm-hmm.
I think that will probably definitely be one of the things, one of the major changes anyway, towards the clothes that come out each season.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think apart from design, it's going to continue as it has been.
Yeah.
Trends will be coming. It'll be interesting to see what trends come out of COVID-19. I think
Yeah.
someone's going to use it as inspiration anyway. So,
Mm.
but yeah, I think the focus on the fabrics that we're using and how we're actually manufacturing, I think that's
Mm.
something a lot of designers are now going to be mindful of as well, which is very promising if they do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And do you think the face mask is here to stay? Like, I mean, are people going to be, because so funny, my dad's keeps sending me like headgear with like matching face masks because I'm Nigerian. And I'm just like, oh my days, I cannot imagine going to a wedding, having headgear and having the same face. But do you feel like this is a trend that will stay?
Um, Only for a short time.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
definitely a trend at the moment, but I definitely don't think it's staying all the way till 2022. No,
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
it will definitely be around for a while though, 100%.
Yeah, yeah, especially like we're not really sure about vaccines and stuff, so I guess everyone just have to protect themselves the best that they can. Okay, so moving on to mindset and relationships. So we have touched a little bit about, continuing relationship with your customers, and buyers and stockists. But let's talk about your relationship with yourself as a designer. So like, how do you deal with self-limiting beliefs? I know, especially starting off, you may deal with things like imposter syndrome and all that. So like, how have you dealt with self-limiting beliefs?
It's been, it's, I think even, it doesn't even have to be about the fashion industry. I think anything that you really have set your mind onto sometimes can be frightening because there's always going to be those times where you have that self-doubt or,
Mm,
you know, scared to take another step. There's just so many ways that things, every single one of us, we have those moments. But I think for me, I could probably be my biggest encourager out of every single person that I've met. I think where I'm able to keep my head up, it's just believing, it's having faith, it's praying. Again, with the affirmations, it's making sure that you are building yourself up first before you're building anyone else up. It's making sure that you understand the passion and the reason why you are doing what you're doing. There's so much work for us all to do within ourselves, but I think if you're willing to try, I think that's the most important step. And so just the small things that I do, like writing notes. I write all the time. I'm always looking for positive quotes. I'm always talking to my close ones. I'm seeking for encouragement from them. I'm also talking to other creatives as well, because I think it's, you have a relationship with both sides. You have your family and friends within trying to pursue your career, and then you also have your family, your creative friends within pursuing your career. And so it's reaching out to both, and it's just having that support there, because I think there's times where you can get or feel quite lonely within pursuing a career, and that's when those thoughts start getting into your head. And I think it's just being able to build yourself up, being around people that build yourself up is most important. That's what keeps you going at the end of the day. So yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. And yeah, like building yourself up as well. And I think as you grow, as you develop your skills as a designer and grow your business, I think you will begin to feel more comfortable. And I do believe, you know, tackling these self-limiting beliefs quite early on is really important, because it really can affect your creativity as well as the progress of your brand. So for instance, like underpricing, because I think I was listening to Rebecca Tembo, the designer, and she was talking about how she in the beginning, she was like underpricing, you know, selling her jumpsuits for like £40 and all that. So I think, you know, if you can tackle some of these limiting beliefs, and obviously speaking to other creatives, asking them, okay, how much are you pricing? Like, you know, that can really encourage you in your growth as a designer as well as a business. Okay. And talking about growth, so obviously as a business, as a designer, you want to grow your brand. And growing your brand has a lot to do with being visible. So like, can you give us some tips on being visible as a brand?
Yes, I think networking,
Okay.
being in the right places at the right time. So finding it doesn't even have to be any fashion event, but any creative event still would be best to attend. I think just placing yourself there and being around other creatives, being able to introduce yourself and what you do is definitely a step growth within your brand. I think it's also the online presence, so social media, making sure that you're active in your presence on there as well. It really does help the growth of your brand as well. What else would I say? Those are the main two. I think finding other ways. So for example, for me, reaching out to you on your podcast, another platform, another opportunity for the growth of my brand. And so I think wherever you're going, you're always wanting to make sure that somebody out there, somebody knows exactly what you're doing or what you're trying to do, because you learn from everybody. And so opportunities are always there, and if it's not there, you're creating it. I think that's the main goal. And so I think just realizing that there's opportunities here to be made. And I think even if you've only just started yesterday, it doesn't mean that there's someone out there that it does mean that there is someone out there that has that opportunity or the experience or the advice to give you in order for your business to grow at the end of the day. It's just using your time wisely and using every platform and every opportunity wisely in order to grow. You will grow, no matter how slow it takes or where it's at the moment. Even if you've made it and your brand is amazing, there's still room for growth. You know?
Yes.
So
yes. Definitely, definitely. Thank you. And speaking about growth, I mean, obviously that you mentioned, pitching your business, pitching your idea to people, networking, and you've also mentioned, stocking in different shops. And another really important and useful tool for growth is actually being featured in magazines. I know you've been featured in Vogue and some really cool magazines. Which is really, really fantastic. But what other steps do you take? So you've been featured in Vogue. What are the next steps that a designer or a brand should take after getting that recognition?
It would probably be in terms of how you can help others. I think
Mm.
that's the most important thing, because you've got the platform there now. What can you do with it?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, for example, I at the beginning of last year, I reached out to a voluntary program who go to different primary schools, and during one of their seasons, I think they do a creative week, and so they
Mm-hmm.
get people from whichever fields to come in to introduce their business or whatever they're doing to these young kids, just for
Mm-hmm.
them to have a feel of what it's like, for them to ask questions, for them to see what it is that they can do in the future. It's giving
Yeah.
back. I I even know, being an emerging designer and having a brand that's still growing, I still have the opportunity to give back and help others and help the
Mm-hmm.
next generation. I think that's more fulfilling to me, rather than just saying, oh, I have a business and this is
Yeah.
what it is. I have a business, I have the experience, and now I
Mm-hmm.
can give back. I can show someone else that when they're my age, that they can do it as well. And so
Yeah.
I think the more we do that, the more we are able to fill someone else's cup at the same time, it's
Mm.
going to get better.
Fantastic. Thank you. I mean, I think that's so, so great. Obviously using your influence, using your recognition for good, because there is a generation coming behind. And I think it's so reassuring and wonderful to hear that, because I mean, the ethos behind this podcast is obviously speaking to creatives, but speaking to people who are really passionate about impacting people and impacting in any way that they can. Fantastic. Okay. And this was actually leading up to my question about the importance to give back. So you've already covered that. And yeah, so like, how do you, I think maybe we may have covered this, but I'll ask again. How do you sustain momentum and interest in your brand?
Um, I think how do I sustain it? I think I just, let's see. I think sometimes I have to, I guess, yeah, try something new. So
Mm-hmm.
I have what I'm doing, and it's trying that something new that gives
Mm-hmm.
me a spark again. Because sometimes, again, it can get repetitive, and I'm doing the same things, I'm working on the same things. But when I'm trying something new, it feels even more. It kind of brings that moment back as to why I started again, or how I started, and how it made me feel the very first time. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I think trying new things with the brand and having new opportunities to walk into has definitely given me that boost to going. That's
Mm-hmm.
so yeah.
Fantastic. So are we going to be seeing any interesting new collaborations coming up
Oh yeah.
with your brand?
I was lucky enough to do a few collaborations prior to what's happened at the moment with a few stylists. So
Mm-hmm.
um, who knows? Let's see when they feature, or they come out anyway. But during this time, I am
Fantastic.
really working towards to gaining more collaborations and reaching out to people and seeing where things take me as well. So
Fantastic. So this is going to bring us towards the end of the podcast, but it's really, really important for the stories that we share to be relatable to our audience, our listeners, and most importantly, for you to offer advice, because you've gone ahead and you're doing amazing things. So what are the key characteristics a creative or an entrepreneur should have to be able to succeed in the creative industry?
yeah, so I would say you need to have, number one, faith in yourself.
Mm,
um, I don't know if they're religious, but trust in the Lord,
mm,
because He
mhm,
can definitely open doors and do amazing things for you if you just
mhm,
believe.
mm, mm,
Um, And then I'd also say taking risks. You have to be willing to take risks because no one great has ever just stood still.
Yes.
They've gone ahead and just done what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also say you need to have a purpose because we can create. We limited with creation, but we need to put our creation into something. So why? Why are you
Mm-hmm.
creating? Why are you doing what you're doing? At the end of the day, you need to have a why, a vision as well. You need to have the ability to network.
Mm-hmm.
And confidence, it definitely takes time, but there's so many people out here that can give you advice and help and just point you in another direction. So the ability to network is definitely your net worth.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you need to have a willingness to learn, and this is something
Mm-hmm.
I from a very young age. Just learn. Learning is endless. We're always learning.
Yes.
um, Also, an entrepreneur needs to have self-motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say those are kind of the key things towards um, being your own boss.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah,
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And do you have any general advice for creatives? Any last words for our audience who want to go out and create and do amazing things?
I would say use what you have right now.
Mm,
Like in the current situation we're in, use what you have because
mm-hmm.
there is something. We're creatives. We can create anything out of nothing. You know, there's
Mm.
always a way. I'm sitting here in my room and I'm just like, what can I do? But there's things to be done. It can be done. Just
Yes.
use your imagination. Again, use social media, ask for advice, see what other people are doing, and try. Don't be afraid to try. Even if, again, with the new, even if you're trying and you feel like this is stupid, I've never done it before, it's not working, keep on trying.
Mm,
You have
mm,
to
mm,
keep on
mm.
trying. Something's going to work at the end of the day. But all in all, never stop creating, always create.
Always create. I like that. Thank you so much. So, how can our audience connect with you and your brand?
So we are on social media. So it's Lonseluet, Lonseluet. So you can find me mainly on Instagram. That's where the
Mm-hmm.
majority of my audience is. And then, yes, my website, I have lonseluet.com. I'm also on LinkedIn as well. Facebook, I'll be honest, don't really use it. But
Mm-hmm.
main platforms is Instagram and our website, lonseluet.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Toya. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. And yeah, looking forward to everything that you will achieve. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. Really enjoyed it.
You're welcome. Wow, that was so amazing. I had so much fun speaking to Toya and actually talking about the future. And I think that's something that we all should look forward to, the future and how we can improve as creatives, as individuals. So if you enjoyed this episode, please comment down below, like, and also share. Let us know what you learned from this episode. And like always, you can connect with us on Instagram at Creatives in Focus, on Twitter at Creatives in Focus. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, influence change and create for impact. And please, guys, stay safe, stay alert, and see you next time.